Welcome to another Adventures Through History. Today, we're going to talk about a super special document that affects your life every single day. That's the United States Constitution. Now, we're going to talk about what the Constitution is, why it was created, and how it still shapes the way America works today. Are you ready? Let's get started. The Constitution is the supreme law of the United States. It's like a rule book for how our country is run. It explains what the government can do, how it's organized, and how it must protect the rights of the people. Think of it kind of like this. If the government was a giant board game, the Constitution would be the directions inside the box. No skipping pages, and everybody has to play by the rules. After the American Revolution, these new states had to figure out the best way to set up the government, so they tried something called the Articles of Confederation. They did not work. In the Articles of Confederation, every state got to make up their own rules. There was no president, there was no national court system, and Congress had no power to raise money or enforce laws. Things were falling apart really fast for this new country. So in May 1787, 55 delegates or representatives from 12 of the 13 states gathered in Philadelphia at what we now call the Constitutional Convention. They gathered in the very same room the Declaration of Independence was debated and argued and passed. Their mission this time: fix the old system of Articles of Confederation or completely start over and create a new system. These men quickly realized there wasn't a good way to fix the Articles of Confederation. They just needed to start over completely. James Madison kept notes and helped shape the ideas. Benjamin Franklin, he was the oldest delegate, gave wise advice, and George Washington was chosen to lead all of the meetings. So, what was their solution? They came up with the Constitution we have today. This Constitution has three main parts. It has the preamble, which is the introduction, and it starts with the famous words, "We the people," and it lists the goals of our government. The second part is the articles, and these set up the government and explain how it will work. And the third part is the amendments. These men realized they were not going to be able to create a perfect document, and the amendments allow the government to make changes and additions over time. One of the most important ideas of the Constitution is the separation of power. This means the government is divided into three parts or three branches, and they each have different jobs. You have the legislative branch, that's Congress, and they make the laws. You have the executive branch, that's led by the president, and they enforce the laws. And thirdly, you have the judicial branch, that is the Supreme Court and other courts, and they interpret the laws. Because the government is set up this way, there is a balance in power, and no one branch can become too strong. It's kind of like a three legged stool. Each part is needed to keep things steady. The Constitution also gives each branch ways to check on the others, and this is called checks and balances. So, for example, Congress can make the laws, but the president can veto them or say, no, they're not constitutional. The president chooses who's going to be the judges on the Supreme Court, but the Senate, part of Congress, has to approve them. And the courts can strike down laws that break the Constitution. Now, some people were worried that the Constitution didn't do enough to protect people's freedoms. So in 1791, the first 10 amendments were added, and these are called the Bill of Rights. And they include things like freedom of speech and religion, freedom of the press, no unreasonable searches, the right to a fair trial, and the right to protest. The Bill of Rights helps make sure everyone is treated fairly and the government does not have too much control. The founding fathers knew there was no possible way they could ever think of everything that our country would need for hundreds of years in the future. So they had to set up a way for the Constitution to be changed. And they did this through something called amendments. Now, there have been 27 amendments so far. We have the 13th Amendment, that ended slavery. We have the 19th Amendment, that allowed women to vote. And we have the 26th Amendment that changed the voting age to 18. So, this is why the Constitution is often called a living document. It can grow and improve as our country changes. You can actually see the original Constitution. It's kept in a safe at the National Archives in Washington, D.C. It is behind bulletproof, fireproof, waterproof, earthquake proof glass. And it's protected by special lights so it won't fade any more than it already has. There are parts of the original that are very, very hard to read because of damage that has happened. Now, even though it was written over 230 years ago, the Constitution still affects how we live. It helps decide court cases, it guides our elections, and it protects your freedoms and my freedoms every single day. So, if you ever hear somebody ask what keeps our country fair and free, you can say the Constitution. It's the rule book, the protector of rights, and the reason our government works the way it does. Thanks for taking a few minutes to learn about the Constitution with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you learned something new, share the video. See you next time on Adventures Through History.